Taking your fear of junk volume too far. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you are not subscribed or following me, please do so. And if you would be so kind as to drop me a comment down below to say hello or to, again, give your thoughts, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. So let's get over to this topic of junk volume and taking it too far. I always tell guys, look, lots of people do lots of junk volume. It's been a problem. It can create problems if you're not careful. I've seen it many times, and that's its own set of issues. And I've discussed that quite a bit in the past, and I can discuss it again in the future. But usually with this idea of junk volume, I think people take it too far. They're like, oh, yeah, we don't want junk volume. And then before long, well, isolation is useless and they're not doing curls. Oh, chins are all we need. Okay, guys, we do not need everything to be taken to the most idiotic extreme. In other words, we can understand concepts, but we have to balance these things, right? We have to balance these things. So when we point out junk volume is not useful, and that in some cases junk volume can be counterproductive, it doesn't mean everything is junk volume outside of the squat and the chin up. Okay, so we need to get our head around these topics. We don't have to go to these extremes. And and I'll see people who do that. They're like, yeah, I'm training 3 days a week, and I squat, bench, deadlift, and do chin ups. And it's like sometimes some rows. It's like, well, hey, great. And those are great lifts. And I think you should be doing those. But you'll look at the person and go, you're serious about your gains, right? And I know people like this. They're like, well, yeah. I really want to get big. I want to get jacked. I want to get stronger. Like I want to get to a 315 natural bench. I want to deadlift 500, all this stuff, right? And it's just like, well, what's your lifetime best? And it's considerably below that, and it's like, how long you been doing this? We're like 8 or 9 years. Okay. See where I'm about to go with this. They're like, but I want to be jacked and I want to look good. It's like, well, why aren't you doing other stuff besides these 4 lifts? Like, why aren't you doing any curls? Well, because I don't want junk volume, and they're just using chin should be enough to get me there. And it's like, that's not how it works, guys. This is where we take it too far. This is when minimalism goes too far, right? Minimalism to the extreme is when you say, I just need a handful of basic compounds with very low volume. No, not necessarily. And they shouldn't be super low. They can be moderate volume. But when you get to the point to where you're like, I'm skipping muscle groups, okay? In other words, do you have something to where every muscle you care about is the primary mover? Because you can't say chins, well, or do you care about lats or biceps? So which one are you counting it towards? And that's kind of my point. I'm going to go on a limb and say, most pull-up type movements are going to be more lat dominant. They're not going to be ideal for most people's biceps. Do they help? Yes. Do they help a lot? Yes. They're not going to maximize it. So if you're coming in doing some curls, it's not junk volume. It's literally making sure that muscle gets worked. Junk volume is when you come in and go, yeah, guys, I'm doing 12 sets, 15 sets for my lats every week. And I do 15 sets of curls on top of it. Okay. And I'm not blasting pro bodybuilder level drugs. You're probably into some junk volume there. Okay. I'm not saying you won't make gains. We're definitely in junk volume territory, but understand the difference, right? Junk volume. I'm doing 15 sets or 20 sets of curls every week on top of all my pulling. See, that's junk volume. But people can't seem to get away from these extremes. It doesn't occur to them, look, dude, your pull-ups and rows may not be enough for your biceps. You should consider doing 3, 5, 6 sets of curls a week. Okay, that's not junk volume. Okay, let's be clear. If you have a muscle in your body that isn't being fully stimulated by your compounds, it is not the primary mover. Okay? Doing 5 sets of isolation for that muscle every week is not junk volume. Okay? Do we want to be clear on that? Doing 3 sets of isolation a week for a muscle that's probably being understimulated from your compounds is not junk volume. right? And as much as I might love the bench and I might even love dips, do you really think your triceps are going to get everything they need out of those? Possibly not. You probably, if you really want to maximize your triceps, you probably need to do something for that long head. It could be a pullover, it could be an extension. You're probably going to need to do some other stuff for it. Okay? Same thing with the bicep. You're probably going to need to do some curls. And even if it's just 3 sets, guys, it's not a big deal. Same thing with your calves. You're like, man, I mean, my calves, they're not getting enough from squats. Squats actually do grow calves. But, I digress. Will you maximize your calf growth off some squats? Probably not. You might want to do some calf raises. Okay? See where we're going with this? And the best way to look at this is if you say, okay, I want to get maximally big, but I don't want junk volume, and you say, okay, well, how many sets a week do you think you need for a muscle to make it grow? Okay, you pick that number, whether for you it's 4, 5, 6, 10, whatever that number happens to be. And if you're in that range and you say, okay, but I'm really only going to count 1 muscle per exercise. People are like, but do squats and bench work lots of muscles? Yes, they do. I'm aware they do. I agree they do. But if you really only count 1, right? Because realistically, no big compound is maximizing growth in every muscle involved. They don't grow proportionately. We know this. Okay? We're all aware of this. We've all seen studies. Right? You take your bench press. There are plenty of studies that show in various people the bench press and hypertrophy. They measure all the muscles and see how much they grow. Pecs almost always grow the most. And oftentimes interior delt given a similar amount. So in the same study, let's say they take some lifters and their pecs and front delts get 17% larger over the course of that study. Their triceps usually only grow, about 9 or 10% larger. The triceps grew, but are you really truly training it? No. So you could look at something like that and go, maybe I need something else. For my triceps. I wouldn't even have a problem with someone squatting, doing a few leg extensions. I don't know. That's a whole different topic. I usually count quads. But you see where we're going with that? Same thing, okay, how about the side delt? Do you really want big side delts? You probably are going to have to do an exercise for them. Am I saying they won't be pretty big from rowing and pressing of different types? No, they can get growth. But they are going to be a little understimulated. So if you are stimulating growth that wasn't happening, are you in junk volume? No. Junk volume means we are now adding volume that you are not growing from. Okay? Doing sets that are no longer causing you to get bigger, that's junk volume. You have to understand that difference. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative. I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.